ads for cars. So it was like how the world was, what was happening with the world. But I did one that was called Having Fun in the Dark, and I did one that was.
Oh, really? Now I'm intrigued.
Well, it wasn't that.
No, you said dark. I got all.
Yeah, there you go.
Very goth.
I used your name in
it. Yes, very goth.
I did one called Beth of Both Worlds.
Okay.
I did one called that was about getting married and what happens to when my story with that. I did one called The Good American Novel.
Okay.
That had to do with stories like that.
So basically, as your life progressed.
Yeah, I would just sort of include.
You got married. You did a show about that.
Yeah.
You write a book. You did a show about that.
Yeah, but it was also sort of, they were more big. There were a lot of ideas in them. Crash Course. I did an early, very multimedia piece that was about particle physics and living in New York and. Yeah, so like that.
Yeah, I can see where they correlate.
There were a lot of books, like images, but I started to try to tour. Oh, who cares about my performance? Anyway.
No, I actually do care. I'm curious because
when I started, I was a visual artist in New York.
Right.
And I was doing one-of-a-kind books, and I was actually doing okay with them.
Right.
And I had gotten into a show at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in the library of that, and they were touring. Was doing well. I was getting grants for that.
What kind of books were you selling them on the street?
They were one of a kind, beautiful. They were very handcrafted, one of a kind, painted books with stories in them.
Oh, okay, that's wow.
They were made out of found material. They're cool.
They're cool, yeah.
Super cool.
But
then I just thought, how can you have a life where you're making these objects that rich people buy?
Right.
Like I just thought that's the best that can happen with these books.
Right.
So I started making them really big and performing in front of them.
Oh, that's great.
And performing with them so that, I wasn't so elitist. Though now I'm like, I really wish a lot of rich people would just buy anything.
Sure.
But sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was very idealistic. Whatever. Anyway, there you go.
Okay. So why did you go from New York to LA? Why did you move to LA?
I was with somebody who was a screenwriter.
Oh.
And there you go.
Oh.
But life unfolds. I had never thought I'll move to Los Angeles. It was never one thought in my mind. I grew up in New Haven. I was like, I can't.
Were you one of these New York people that
I want to move to New York. I want to move to New York. As soon as I can, I'm going to move to New York.
New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah, I just could not wait to move to New York. And then I went to school in Providence, and then I moved to New York. I mean, the day I could move to New York.
And you were probably one of these, you didn't want to be with the fruits and nuts in LA, one of those New York people that hates LA?
No, not at all. I didn't hate LA. It just didn't. I didn't grow up thinking I need to be in show business.
Right.
I grew up thinking I need to be an artist. And it was only as my life unfolded that it became clear that I wanted to be more in the entertainment realm. I knew I had something to say, but I didn't realize I wanted to say it within the entertainment realm.
Right.
As opposed to within the art realm.
Right. And those are two completely different realms.
Yes, but now everything's show business.
Right.
Every single thing is show business. It's
all
the same realm.
Yeah.
It's all the same realm at this point. There's no job security anywhere. Everything is about being you.
I think you're right because I drove by the Hollywood Bowl today, and to get here, and they have a Grease sing along, and a Harry Potter night.
Sure, but do they have a David Sal? I mean, is there fine arts within it? But it's all the same thing. I mean, I'm very excited about UnCabaret's 25th anniversary because we're going to be presented by CAP UCLA, which is the presenting organization at UCLA. But we're going to be at the Ace Hotel. They're doing a season down there. And it does a little bit put it in the fine art realm, which I'm happy about, to be culture like that again.
Right.
It's important to look at comedy that way. I mean, my inspirations came from singer-songwriters as well as comedians, as well as authors. Right. I did love comedy as a young person. I loved it. But I also loved Joni Mitchell, and I also loved James Joyce. And those things were just as formative for me.
Well, let me ask you a question. I was going to save this for the end, but let me ask you this now since we're talking about
Just skip to the end.
No. Because I ask a lot of musicians this, and I asked musicians last week, is there a comedian, a guilty pleasure, somebody that nobody would think Beth Lapides likes that you like?
No.
Okay.
In comedy?
So there's not like, I like Buddy Hackett or something like that or whatever.
I mean, sure, who doesn't like Buddy Hackett? But I don't go at him. I mean, no.
Because I had a.
I like who you think I would like.
Right, because I had a goth punk band here, and I was like, who's somebody that you know with? And they were like, they had really highfalutin answers. I'm like, fuck it, I like the Spice Girls. What do you want?
Oh yeah, but in music or TV, I have guilty pleasures.
Such as?
I don't know, but
Okay, anyway.
I've watched shitty shows.
We're getting to where she changes comedy. Trust me on this. So.
Anyway, so I came out here and
Mm-hmm.
it was horrible. I mean, it was really, I remember there are three things. One is, I remember one night I was following Andrew Dice Clay at the Comedy Store.
Oh.
And he was, as he is,
Yeah.
very misogynistic, and the audience was loving him, and so I was hating him, and I was hating the audience, and I was hating myself for hating both of them, because I don't do well with hate, and then I wasn't funny, and I just was like, I can't work. Maybe now, as I'm more developed, I could follow anything and just still stay in my own space. But as a much younger person, that energy was, I didn't have a way to necessarily protect myself in, and I mean, dark energy doesn't necessarily scare me, but it just, I didn't want to be in an environment that was so misogynist.
Well, also and now, thanks in part to you, the comedy climate has changed.
Well,
and I don't think Andrew Dice Clay is doing what Andrew Dice Clay used to do.
He may, or I don't think he's talking about how much he loves ladies, but maybe he is. His new boyfriend, he's really opened up. Well, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know, but
well, I'm sure he has to. I mean, there's a whole crowd that is raised on UnCabaret and the comics from the UnCabaret that's coming to wherever he's performing, or if he's doing the Comedy Store. If he's doing his own show, obviously it's going to be the people that like Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
But if he's going to the Improv or the Comedy Store, there's a whole crowd that has a whole different sensibility.
Yeah,
the whole millennials will not get Andrew Dice Clay.
I don't know. Maybe that's true. So there was that. There were a few things. If you want to talk about how it changed, there are a few things that happened. Number one is I was a person who believed just what you said, that art is, because when you study art history, all you learn about are the people who changed it. Everyone else is besides the point. And so that's what I thought, you're supposed to try to do. That's what you're supposed to try to do, is change something.
Right.
That's what it means to be an artist. So there's that. Number two, I'm at the Comedy Store and I can't deal with it. Number three, I do a one-person show at a place called the Women's Building, and they're laughing a little too hard, and I say to them, when was the last time you laughed? And they say, we don't laugh because we're women, we're artists, and we're gay. And if we go to the Comedy Store, clubs, any comedy club, they just make fun of us. And I said, I'm going to come back from my tour, I'm going to make you a show, it's going to be unhomophobic, unmisogynist, unxenophobic, it'll be the UnCabaret. And that's literally how it was born. In that moment, I hadn't thought about it before. Wow. It was born for an audience that already existed and were hungry for something that they weren't receiving. So it was my need, their desire, and thirdly, the comedy community was ready.
Yeah.
Because I then started reaching out to people, and we did some sort of beta testing shows there. They lost their funding. Then I did a group of shows with Taylor Negron and Judy Toll, both R.I.P. at Highways. And then
Judy Toll's R.I.P.?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they both are, the three of us sort of started to craft what UnCabaret would be. Very confessional, a little poetic. Friends doing it together. Those are some of the things that are in the DNA that started to be created in those Highway shows. And then I put it aside to do another project. Then when Luna Park opened, Jean-Pierre called me. We knew each other from and he was the person that opened Largo. And he said, I'm doing a show. He's French. And he said, do you want to do some shows? And I said, all right, I want to do UnCabaret. It's this comedy thing. I don't know, is it going to be funny? I was like, yeah, it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny. So we booked it for 3 Sunday nights, and then it ran for 7 years. And but part of it was the taking it outside the comedy club where that rhythm existed, where people were, first of all, you have people trying to sell drinks that are really just listening for laughs. They're listening to the 7-second laugh meter. And that's what's in those clubs, is a 7-second kind of clock, and it's hard to get out of that in the comedy clubs.
No, I know.
So
well, I was in Vegas for a year and a half, and I kind of got back into that, and that's why I'm back in LA. It just sort of because they definitely have that there.
Right, and at that time, so now besides the club wanting that, there was the comedians wanting to get their sitcom.
Right.
You know, because here's Seinfeld, here's this one,
Cosby,
here's that one,
Roseanne, yeah.
and you want to get your show, so you've got your Titan, and you're doing your Titan every time because that's what you have to do to get your sitcom or
Right.
your development deal, which is something that really existed then.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't become a show, you were still making buckets of money on your
Even if
development
you
deal.
try to pilot,
Yeah. So I opened the space